Hallo, hey meine Lieben, hier ist Simeon, herzlich willkommen zu meinem neuen Video und heute wieder was ganz Besonderes, für mich ein echter Meilenstein auf diesem YouTube-Channel. Ich habe heute für euch, für uns, ein Interview mit einem unglaublich einflussreichen und einem rundum großartigen Zauberkünstler, mit Garrett Thomas. Garrett ist wieder jemand, den ich euch nicht vorstellen muss. Es ist sehr wahrscheinlich, dass die meisten von euch mindestens ein Kunststück von ihm im Programm haben und dabei hat er gar nicht so viele Effekte auf den Markt gebracht, aber die Sachen, die er veröffentlicht hat, sind immer echte Blockbuster. Seine bekanntesten Routinen sind The Ring Thing, Imagination Coins, Stand-Up Monty, Opus, alles keine einfachen Tricks, sondern echte Magie. Und nicht nur seine Zauberei ist toll, sondern auch die Art und Weise, wie er über die Zauberei nachdenkt. Also seine Gedanken zu unserer Kunstform sind immer extrem aufschlussreich. Er ist auch stets sehr großzügig mit seinem Wissen. Er teilt es auf seinem YouTube-Channel, den er unbedingt abonnieren muss. Es gibt auch ein paar tolle Podcasts mit ihm und großartige Interviews auf YouTube. Einiges davon werde ich euch in der Videobeschreibung verlinken. Und gerade weil Garrett in der Zauberszene so präsent ist, wollte ich natürlich mit ihm über etwas sprechen, worüber er noch nie gesprochen hat. Ich wollte, dass er mit uns Gedanken teilt, die er noch nie irgendwo geteilt hat. Und deswegen redet Garrett in diesem Video darüber, welche Rolle Zauberkunst in der modernen Gesellschaft einnehmen kann. Wie sollen wir als Zauberkünstler mit den ganzen Veränderungen auf der Welt mithalten? Wie erschaffen wir in einer Welt, in der Technologie Unglaubliches möglich macht, echte magische Momente? Und wo liegt die Zukunft der Zauberei? Alles das und noch sehr viel mehr erzählt Garrett in diesem Video. Ich habe Garrett meine Fragen zugeschickt und er war so freundlich, diese Fragen für uns vor der Kamera zu beantworten. Als ich seine Antworten bekommen habe, war ich erschüttert, ungelogen erschüttert darüber, wie toll seine Antworten waren, wie aufschlussreich, wie tiefgründig er über die Zauberei nachdenkt. Ich musste so oft einfach nur das Video anhalten beim Schneiden und innehalten, weil seine Wörter mich total berührt haben und extrem zum Nachdenken angeregt haben. Und ich hoffe, dass es euch genau so gehen wird. Für diejenigen unter euch, die die englische Sprache noch nicht perfekt beherrschen, habe ich einige Stellen, die für mich besonders bewegend waren, besonders spannend waren, übersetzt. Also wenn ihr euch das Video zum zweiten, zum dritten Mal anschaut, und ich hoffe, dass ihr das tun werdet, weil es sich wirklich lohnt, dann könnt ihr auch meine Kommentare an der Seite zu dem, was er sagt, lesen. Und ich hoffe, dass euch das ein bisschen helfen wird. Genießt einfach nur diese Zeit mit einem der größten Denker in der Zauberei, die wir haben. Es war so wertvoll für mich, ihm zuzuhören. Ich wünsche euch ganz viel Spaß mit Garrett Thomas.
So what makes magic unique and important in the modern world is the same thing that magic has always been important to the world. I don't know if it's a unique thing, but the word magic comes from the word magi, which is wisdom, and wisdom is important forever. Someone who knows how something is done, while other people don't, they're the keepers of that wisdom until it becomes common knowledge. The weathermen were magicians. They knew how to predict patterns. Not everybody did, but now it's become common knowledge. We can kind of see and figure out how things happen, and we understand the process of a weatherman. However, if you're going to be a magician, you're going to play the role of someone who knows how to create a moment that's impossible. And that has other values. It's not just about fooling people and tricking people. I think the point of magic today is to remind people that what you see is not what you get, that the world is different than what you perceive, that truth is different than what you perceive. When a magician presents a moment, they put up the audience at conflict with themselves. That each audience member has to go, that just happened. No, it didn't. It can't happen. But it just happened. I saw it. It happened. But it didn't happen. That conflict is the feeling of astonishment. And the value of that is it reminds you that you're not an individual. There's more to you than just you. You have a left brain, a right brain, an emotional state, an intellectual state. You have different ways to perceive your world. There are people that had an injury where their left and right brain can't talk to each other. And they found there's two different people in there. That this person's experience of the world is totally different than the other. And it sounds horrible to be living that way, but it's evident that there's more to us than just Garrett Thomas, the magician. No, there's many different ways to look at identity. And magic reminds you, when I put you at conflict with yourself, that there's more to you than what's going on, let alone there's more to the truth than what's going on in your perception of reality. The true reward to being a magician is that you get to provide these moments for people. Now, you don't know what they need. You don't know if they're struggling and they need hope, or if they own the world and they have more money than they can know what to do with. They're full of ego and they need to be brought down a little bit. A moment of astonishment, if you take away the story, if you take away the presentation, if you just do the magic, if you take away any other art form, and public speaking and storytelling and acting are all other art forms, you can use them to guide the magic to have a message. But I find if you just do the magic, that one moment of astonishment will make this person who's struggling realize that anything's possible and lift them up. But the same exact moment for the person that owns the world, it'll bring them down. It's like, wait a minute, I don't know everything. That magic, if presented in a neutral way, will lift people up or bring them down as needed to the amount they need. It's all about balance. I think astonishment is just when you shake them up and they have to redraw their own picture, and whatever they need to hear can be found in that moment. So if they need hope, it's there. If they need angst, it's there. Magic, you hear how people respond to it. They either say, I love it, or I hate it. Well, both is right. They love it if it lifts them up. They hate it if it brings them down, but it does what it needs to do for them. So that's the true reward that you offer them. But in the question, you asked if you could strip away ego from the magician, what is the true reward? That the reward is not applause and that the reward is not money. However, if you take a step back, you need the ego. Every person goes through phases in their life. It's very important to have the selfish, ego-driven phase that often is accompanied in childhood. Usually you grow out of it. Some people don't. But that phase is there for a good reason. It empowers them with skill sets. The skills that I have today that I'm able to do for my audiences were all developed in my childhood. They were all developed in my me phase. Then you grow out of that and you think about, what can I do for you? Still a little bit of ego, but it's about giving. It's about, what can I do for you? Then you grow out of that and it's all about you. And then you might grow out of that and maybe it's all about us. And it's not even, it's, what can we create? And maybe there's more. I don't know. I'm still growing. But what I know is that if you think magic is look what I can do, then you're right. It's an art form. Do what you love. If you like cardistry and things that are showing off a skill, do it. If you're drawn to that, do that, because there's nothing wrong with that in our world. It's just different phases of life. So I would say celebrate whatever you love, celebrate that, and eventually you might learn to let things go and change. Give yourself the permission and the freedom to change, and that will guide you on that journey, and the rabbit hole will go deeper. Right now I'm thinking about creating moments of magic for everybody, including myself. I want to share in that moment. I'm sure there's more. The rabbit hole goes deeper. The way that we can learn the secrets of magic and still make sure that the joy of magic never declines depends on your foundation. If you believe that magic is about fooling people, well, then your joy will never go away because you're pulling one over on them constantly. But that gets old very quickly. What's the point? Just tricking people and lying to people. If you get joy in the astonishment of it, well, the moment you learn the secret, you're let down, and the sacrifice you make is because, well, it's for them. It's, they don't know the secret, so therefore I will carry the burden of knowing how it's done so that they can experience the astonishment. But on a deeper level, you can observe it from their point of view and really let go of your identity in the moment. The reason we practice so much is so that we don't think about what we're doing, that we rehearse the routine so that we can kind of let go and be in the moment with them. That helps. That's a little bit better. But even more so, if you practice enough, you can just totally let go and just observe the moment and observe the exchange of what they're learning about themselves and about truth, and what you're learning about yourself and truth in that shared exchange. You want to get recharged as well. So you can't give a gift you don't have. And if you've forgotten what astonishment feels like, go and find a magician, or maybe another art form that's just going to blow your mind. Another magician that can amaze you, that you haven't studied their work or their principles, and you could sit there and just be taken in by magic again, is a very important thing. You can't give a gift you don't have. If I didn't own a car, I couldn't gift you the car. I couldn't give you a car if I didn't own it to begin with. So how can I give astonishment if I've lost it, if I don't have it to begin with? So if you haven't felt magic in a while, seek out a magician that can give you that feeling so that you can reform that foundation. And wherever you're at, whether it's tricking people, or if it's about what you can give people, or if it's about being in the moment of astonishment, wherever you're at, or in whatever way you view that exchange, having the experience of astonishment will make it even stronger. So finding another magician or another art form, a movie that you can study, or a writer that speaks your language that goes deeper than you can imagine. Those are the things that will recharge you and make you reevaluate and recommit in your art form. The skills that a magician needs is vast. I mean, really what you need to have is a little bit of everything. You need to know whatever it takes to get the job done. I mean, a lot of people say that magicians are actors portraying the roles of a magician, but that's not true. Acting is one of our tools that we use to be a magician. You would never call a carpenter a hammer. A hammer is the tool of the carpenter. Acting, combined with a principle or sleight of hand or math or psychology or some sort of method, combined with skill and juggling, combined with mime and make-believe, combined with showmanship and presentation and public speaking, are the very basic tools of a magician. And each one of them might require a bunch of other arts. So you need to study everything. There is a math to magic. There is a science to magic. There is an art to magic. There is a history to magic. There is a language to magic. To pinpoint what you need to learn, I can only speak from my point of view. I think the strongest thing to learn, the number one thing to learn, is empathy. You can study psychology, or you can just let go and start caring about people. Your art form only exists in the mind of the observer. In their mind is where your magic actually happens. You can't do magic. You set up the conditions for them to experience magic. When Robert Houdin was saying, "I love you," he was behind a curtain of a theater saying to the audience before the show began, "I love you, I love you, I love you." I don't think it was because of ego. I don't think it was because they were paying him. I don't think it was because they are allowing him to perform a show. I think he realized that the magic he is only occurs in their mind, that without an observer, you're not a magician. Without a student, there is no teacher. Without a teacher, there are no students. That the relationship with you and your audience is really a dance and needs to be celebrated. So having empathy and being able to look at someone and see through their point of view will help connect with your audience, but also that's what magic is all about. That I'm twisting the information that you're experiencing. I'm twisting the truth of how you see this moment, and by the way I set up the conditions, you can experience something that isn't quite as what you experienced. The way we develop magic to keep up with the ever-changing world around us, because it's an art form, there are many answers to this, and your path is your path, and there are no right or wrong answers when it comes to art. We call things a martial arts, right? Well, if you don't do exactly what your teacher says, you're going to get thrown across the room. But martial arts are really a craft. There is really very little elements of expression unless you get really deep into the martial arts. But that's more about identity than expression. You're not really saying anything. You're just exposing who you are when you fight. If you don't do what your teacher says, you're going to get thrown across the room. But in art, that is an expressive thing, you want to know that there are no rules. Actually, you're going to need to make up the rules. Now, one rule to keep up with society is to stay ahead of the game, to spend more money than anyone else, to have a bigger access to technology that no one else has, to be ahead of the curve and to figure out what's coming and see if you can use it now before most people know about it. But honestly, I think the world is moving way too fast for that. When electricity was invented, a magician took electricity and toured with it, took a generator and had a trick where they would light a candle on stage with a gun. So he would put a candle on a stage and he would take a gun out, he would fire it, and it would apparently hit the wick of the candle and ignite. And everyone went, "Oh, that's a good trick, that's a good trick." Then he had all the ushers put out the candles in the theater, and he would take the gun and you would hear pew, 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 pew. And then all the candles would light up and everyone would go nuts. And what he did was he wired each candle up with an ignition switch. This was long before anyone knew about it. The news might not even have gotten to them yet overseas about electricity. And so this was magic, but the magician had time to invest in the new technology. We have the dice that you can detect what was rolled with a transmission device. And already there's a Kickstarter that's going to connect a physical die to a board game where the computer will know what it's rolled, and that will be common knowledge. So I'm assuming, or I'm predicting, that information is going to be so easily accessible that knowing how something like technologically is done is going to be hard to keep up with. So my school of thought is to do the exact opposite. If everybody is doing technological magic, I want to go, well, what's the most human thing you can do? What's the furthest thing away from technology, and how can you keep it as real and human as possible? Which is why I focused on sleight of hand. All of my magic depends on sleight of hand. I like that as a principle. And even if people have an idea what's going on, they still appreciate that it's a human being doing it. Nobody cares about a computer that beats a chess player at chess. We might care about the people that program that computer, but the human element is gotta be there. You want to be someone who taps into the human skill. This is my point of view. There are no wrong answers. If you want to be the robotic gizmo magician, there's a market for that. There's an audience that would love that. For me, I think there's more room to wiggle in where the world is not going, to always do the opposite thing. So a lot of people ask if there is something I don't like about modern magic. It's art. So there's a lot that I don't like, that there's a lot of stuff that I don't do that I like. Comedy magic. I will not do comedy magic. I think there's a big conflict. You have fighting of whether or not this is funny or amazing. People walk away with one or the other. It's rare for a good comedy magician to do both. I think it takes away from the moment when you add story even. And when you have the dramatic elements of fantasy pulls people out of the moment. But I love theatrical magic. I think once you understand what magic is, you can add another layer on top of it. I can watch a concert that has multimedia experience because I know how to take in the music alone. I know how to process it. I think a lot of people don't know how to process magic. And when you add too many layers on top of it, they're still reeling over the trick itself. For you to try to pull them into a story, unless they are a connoisseur, unless they're acclimated to the art of magic like other magicians are, then the story doesn't get heard or the magic doesn't get heard. If you have 2 points of interest happening at the same time, one of them is going to disappear. So comedy magic, you need to make sure you create a cadence. Now I just remove the comedy. I try to keep it as serious as possible, that it's just about the experience and moment of the magic. But that's my artistic choice. I like comedy magicians because I know how to process the magic itself. I know where to put it because I'm a magician. So I can actually watch the magic, experience the puzzle of it, and still get the jokes that are happening. So if I had to say what I dislike about modern magic is, one, magicians don't believe in magic. They think it's a trick and that's not magic. They believe that what they're doing is not magic. They think they're lying. You are a magician if you are the one who sets up the conditions that other people are experiencing magic. A hypnotist does not hypnotize you, but they do set up the conditions for you to experience hypnosis, for you to go into an alternate state of mind that's called hypnosis. But there's no power. They're guiding you to that experience. In the same exact way, a magician does not do magic. We set up the conditions for others to experience magic, and you can own that. So the thing that I really wish magicians would do is be magicians. To me, I see a lot of tricksters, I see a lot of actors, I see a lot of con men and gambling demonstrators and skill performers, but I don't really see a lot of magicians, people that are doing magic because they believe that what they're creating is a magic moment. On top of that, I see magicians not being themselves. I see magicians doing Rubik's Cube tricks, and they're not the type of person that ever would have touched a Rubik's Cube. When I popularized Rubik's Cube magic, I made sure that the people I was teaching knew how to do the Rubik's Cube first in a fast time, so that they actually loved it. It was a part of who they were. To encourage magicians to choose effects that represent who they are. Because there is no wrong or right answer to art, but it would be wrong for you to be something that's not you. Because you are the art piece. The experience of art is an excuse to meet another human being. And of course, you're a performer, so you want to be the best you. But you still want to be you. You still want to share a little bit of you. You're not an actor helping a director tell a story. You're a magician in the real world that wants to give people the experience that they can't get in reality. That's your job. So I think I want magicians to be magicians and to be themselves a lot more. So where I see magic in the future, where is it going realistically? It'll never go away. Where it's going is unknown. You cannot predict where it's going. There's too many variables, and anything you think it is, you're probably wrong. So you do need to be sensitive to the world around you and what you're going to have to do to play the game. I think magic will become a little more commonplace. I think it's a great thing to give people. I think it's an art form that helps people understand truth. Maybe magic in the future will get into more philosophy, where you are exposing the reality of the illusion we're in. You know, the illusion that I'm in a home outside of a road. Because that's all an illusion. That's not a road, that's asphalt. We call it a road. It's only a road because we say it is. This is a home because I say so. It's wood and brick, and I hide in it a lot. But it becomes a home because I say so. So maybe magic will be the thing to expose the difference between perception and reality. That if your arm is broken, praying about it might not be the best answer. Maybe fix the material nature of your arm. But if your heart is broken, well, maybe drugs are not the best answer. Maybe you need art and religion and an activity or beauty. I mean, all of these things, all of these tools can be misused, and they have been. But you can find healing. If your heart is broken, see art, experience nature, dive into it. Don't try to push it out. Don't try to drug yourself with chemicals. That's a physical answer to a physical need, and an emotional need will need an emotional answer. And I see, these people stepping into their wrong domains. So maybe, just maybe, that the magician is somebody that understands the science enough, but at the same time understands the art enough, that understands the ritual that is needed to heal the emotion, the perception, and the concept, while the science can heal the physical, material, and logical answers to our life. That you need both. You need your head and your heart to be a complete person. So maybe one day magic will reveal that. That's what I'm pushing towards. In my art form, my goal is to remind people about balance, remind people that they're not an individual, remind people that there is a heart and a head to the matter, that we need them both to solve any problem in our life. So wherever magic is going to go is wherever you take it. So you have the power to take your magic and make it mean whatever you want. If you don't like my definitions of the word magic, of what it is to be a magician, of what it is to perform magic, good, but have a definition. Make up your own definition. If you like mine, great. But if not, make up your own definition, and your art will go in that direction. If you think magic is about tricking people, then do it. Own it and do it. And trick people. I think there's more to be learned in other aspects of what magic offers, but there's nothing wrong with that either. So magic in the future, it's wherever you want to go with it. You're in charge of your art piece. So you drive wherever you want to go.
Das war's, Leute. Wenn ihr jetzt ein bisschen so seid wie ich, dann ist euer Verstand gerade total am Feuerwerk abfeuern, weil es so spannend war und weil man so viel mitnehmen konnte und weil es so viele neue Impulse waren. Wenn euch das Video gefallen hat, dann bitte geht auf den Channel von Garrett Thomas und abonniert seinen Channel. Es lohnt sich wirklich, der hat ein paar ganz tolle Videos dort und es werden noch mehr kommen. Folgt ihm auch auf Instagram, ihr findet alles in der Videobeschreibung. Ich danke euch, dass ihr diese Zeit mit uns verbracht habt. Das war euer Simeon. Tschüss.